folks, hope you all are doing well. I'm Karan Bandal from Econoside. In this video, let's talk about one of India's largest textile companies and the overall sector. Welspun Living is a key player in India's textile sector. The company, with a revenue of over $10 billion, is led by its CEO and MD, Deepali Goenka. Interestingly, the company's exports have hit a $1 billion mark as well. This is relevant because recently India's textile exports to the United States are on the way up, and companies like Welspun will play a crucial role in solidifying that market for Indian textile exports. At the same time, they'll offer robust value proposition to American consumers. Welspun just opened up a new manufacturing facility in Ohio in the US. The factory will make pillows for American customers. Take a listen to this interview with Welspun CEO as she discusses potential impact of Trump's tariffs on US imports and how Welspun plans to respond to it. Then I'll wrap up with some commentary on India's textile sector.
From the clothing we wear to the curtains in our homes, the U.S. and India are some of the world's top contributors to the global textile trade. About 6% of U.S. textile imports comes from India, making it our third largest partner in the space. And that share is expected to grow. Data estimates that India's exports to the U.S. will reach $65 billion by 2026. Of course, these numbers are subject to change depending on what the new administration decides to do. Here in studio now to offer firsthand insight into that relationship with the Indian textile industry is Deepali Goenka. She is CEO and Managing Director of Welspun Living. It is one of the largest textile companies in India. Welcome.
Thank you. A pleasure indeed to be here.
So Deepali, the fog of uncertainty, at least for an investor, has been lifted with the clear outcome of this election. Do you feel that there's now more clarity and certainty on the U.S.'s stance on imports from countries like India?
I think so too, because India has been at the integral part of the supply chain for all the global retailers for a long, long time. I mean, for the last 2 years, we saw that momentum come in a lot, and we saw businesses will increase and the market share increase as well. And I feel there would be that kind of interest in India because India is, investing in infrastructure, investing in people, upskilling people. So it's becoming a huge opportunity for India.
It's also an opportunity because India is pointedly not China, and that's something that's been said over and over again. The lesson learned from the unexpected election of Trump in 2016 was that take what he says seriously, but not literally. He said a lot about trade with our Asian partners and tariffs. During the election, of course, this week as well. From where you sit, what do you take seriously? What do you take literally?
We'll wait for that, can't speculate on that right now, but I can say we've been working with the United States of America for over 2 decades, seen several administrations, and have seen the COVID. So we are a resilient company and can also say that, India has had good relationships with the United States.
It has had good relationships with the United States. And 2023, it was kind of a bit of 2024, sorry. It was a bit of a kind of coming out party, if you will, at least for a lot of folks outside of India, to kind of see the rounds that Modi made, of course, a very momentous trip here in the U.S. And the idea that investors, foreign investors, seem to have really sort of warmed to the idea that this might be
I think India is a fast learner, and they've been doing it. They're deploying a lot of experts there. And I can see that happening very fast because I've been watching it from close quarters as being one of the leading industrialists and a leading company because we have invested not only in textiles in India, but also in infrastructure. We're building roads and highways, and also oil and gas and hydrogen, green hydrogen as well as a company.
But do you worry about the tariff situation here in the U.S.? And I know a lot of those tariffs are more directed towards China and other nations rather than India, but there is a blanket effect to some of those tariffs that I would think at some point would affect industries in India, including yours.
I would say we'll cross the bridge when it comes in, but I think as an opportunity, India really has a great opportunity. And we'll definitely see a lot of big things happening to this country. And because I'll tell you about Welspun. We started with bath over 2 decades back, and today we are a home solution company. America contributes around 63% to our top line, so yes.
And the stated intention of those tariffs is to bring U.S. manufacturing jobs back home. Welspun has actually a new manufacturing factory in Ohio. It's to make pillows, I believe. You just launched this recently. What was the biggest challenge when it came to setting this up in terms of regulation, insurance, or even hiring?
You know what? It has been so smooth. And people have been so welcoming here. We set up this plant in Ohio, and we've got the complete support from the administration there. And it is also encouraging us to set up a couple of them. We're exploring opportunities in the United States of America.
India's textile sector is quite big. Especially, the number of direct jobs the sector supports in India is massive. A recent report revealed some data on apparel imports by the United States, and India, along with some other nations, have gained market share here. There are two parts to this analysis. First, as US looks to diversify away from China, it is helping China's neighboring nations increase their exports, including India. Second, the size of India's textile sector and its prospects going forward. When I say textile sector, it includes both textiles and apparel. The difference, to explain in simple terms, is that textiles are the raw material. For example, bed sheets, curtains, fabrics made from fiber, whereas apparel is the finished garments designed to be worn by people. For example, shirts, trousers, jeans, jackets, etc. So let's start with the report on apparel imports by the United States in 2023. This number varies quite a bit from year to year, but last year, US imported about $80 billion worth of apparel, and here are the key observations. China still holds the majority share of US's imports by dollar value, but this share has fallen from over 35% in 2013 to just over 20% at present. China's lost market share is captured by Vietnam, India, Bangladesh, and others. All of them have upped their exports to the United States in the last 10 years, with Vietnam gaining the most. Also, look at the unit price of apparel imported by the United States. A higher price here indicates import of a high value product. Italy takes the top spot by some margin. Naturally, since Italy exports to the US textile items such as luxury high-end clothing, leather jackets, designer handbags, tailored suits, and so on. India sits somewhere in the middle as it focuses on hand-embroidered high-value items. One more benefit India has is that its textile sector boasts of a nearly complete vertical integration. That is, over 90% of the raw material is sourced domestically. And so, as a sourcing destination, India will likely be well shielded from supply chain issues arising out of uncertain global environment we live in today. Finally, China's unit price of apparel is the lowest, followed by Pakistan and Bangladesh, as these countries mostly export low-cost clothing items. Now, the second part of the analysis. We'll zoom into India's textile sector. By the way, India is one of the largest producers of cotton and jute in the world, second largest producer of silk. Roughly 95% of the world's hand-woven fabric comes from India. Also, recently, India has become the second largest producer of PPEs in the world. PPE stands for Personal Protective Equipment. Over 600 companies in India are certified to produce PPEs. Okay, let's talk numbers now. India's textile sector is worth over $150 billion. But more importantly, the number of direct jobs the sector provides is roughly 45 million. I'll give you a simple comparison to highlight why this sector is so vital for job creation. We all admire India's IT sector. It has indeed lifted many Indians into the middle class. India's IT sector is worth somewhere around $250 billion, and it supports a little over 5 million in direct jobs. In other words, IT sector creates about 20,000 direct jobs per $1 billion in industry value. Textile sector creates over 250,000 direct jobs per $1 billion in industry value. Textiles industry is over 13 times labor intensive as India's IT industry. The good thing is that there is a PLI scheme out there worth a little over $1 billion aimed at expanding India's textile sector. The goal is to take this sector to $350 billion by 2030. But looking at the job creation potential of this sector, maybe more can be done here. In summary, West is moving away from China as a sourcing destination even in textile sector. China's neighbors are benefiting as a result. India has also cashed in on this. Considering an immense job creation potential of this sector, India might do well if it targets an even more aggressive expansion of India's domestic textile sector as well as exports. I hope you found this analysis interesting. I'll speak with you again next week. Until then, take care.